Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you can't tell, we are working on our Motion Raceworks steering column. Now, for starters, familiarity is the key in my opinion. So this is the exact same steering wheel we've always had. I have it ratchet strapped up to the top of the cage, and then over here we pulled our intermediate shaft out, and this is just kind of a temporary landing place. I envision us shortening this chromoly tube up a little bit, bring that U-joint here, and then run our double D steering bar into here. So I'm going to reuse the factory intermediate shaft. Essentially, what we're creating is kind of from here back. Now, eventually we are going to rack and pinion this truck. I don't think it'll happen this year, but we do. So I'm not going to do too crazy much. I did see a couple of guys that welded a plate into the firewall. That would have been really fancy. We're not going to do that. What I'm going to do is what I did on David's. We're going to grab a couple of like 065 wall chromoly tubing from the shock tower right there and kind of create a triangle onto the tube. That way, if we need to change it, you just cut it off. It's really easy. Whereas if you do all of that, it kind of makes it, I wouldn't say a permanent fixture because it can bolt and unbolt, but I'm not a huge fan of that, knowing that everything is going to change. So we're going to try to leave our chromoly tube as long as we can. I say we're probably going to have to lop about maybe 2 inches off, and then obviously shorten up the shaft that comes through, again, about 2 inches. And we're going to support it outside the cab, and then inside the cab we're going to grab it right here, which should be really nice. We have these Tim McCamus mounts, and my thoughts were we'll slip this mount, which I kind of wish I would have done this before I slipped it in, but these mounts will go here, weld a couple of tabs up, and then probably some goddamn angle iron, give it nice support here. So this will kind of be here, and then we will bolt it up here to these. So we'll use the factory there. We'll skip the upper two that are further in, and then we will clamp this on the outside and create our little triangular mount again with these Tim McCamus mounts. That way, if we need to change it, adjust it, we can do that. Now, I do have the steering wheel mocked up pretty well, which is unfortunate because I should have thought about that before I did all this. But we did get the wheel on. I can get in and out with the steering wheel on or off, which is nice. The last thing I'm going to do is set our dash rack in here. Just going off memory, I'm pretty sure we're okay. Yeah, I'd say we're pretty okay. And the nice part about all this, slip in here, where our screen is about right there. Should be decent. I'd like to put the screen there, ideally. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But that is where we're at currently. It's the steering, so make sure you mount it correctly. And then we also got our new seatbelt harnesses. These are the new 16 or 15-1 harnesses. And then we got our send cut send plates here to fill up all of our firewall holes. So I got it for the door jambs, 1, 2, and then we got 2 ovals, 1, 2. We got this small oval for right there. It might be kind of hard to see. We got our big circle for over here. I'm really not sure what the other circle was for. I did get some rubber plugs for those, and it'll just be a couple bolts. I'm not real good at send cut send yet, so I didn't get them pre-drilled. This was a really easy template to follow, so these actually are pre-drilled here, so that makes it very easy. And then our fire suppression hose that I nicked with the grinder we got that replaced so we can put our fire suppression back in as well. And then for our wiring and stuff, still trying to make up my mind. We got our ARC 8-button panel up here, and we have our relay control panel there. I did order some aluminum, and my thought was we're just gonna bolt some aluminum to the floor, probably some angle iron, and mount these in here. Should be pretty light and easy to remove and stuff. And we're just gonna kind of lift them up ever so slightly. I want to say it was 2.5-inch angle iron that I ordered. It might have been 3-inch. And that'll make it nice. And then we have all of our nice Fragola stainless braided line covered in the black coating. Should look a lot nicer in here. And then the last thing is I did touch up all the paint from where we welded all of our brackets, and we got all of our brackets and weight box stuff over here all painted up as well. So okay, and now you guys can definitely see the gist of what we're going for here. That is our Timacamus bracket, and it'll allow us to kind of move the steering column forward and back. Now you'll have to cut it, but it does mean it's adjustable. So I mean, tomato. But the last thing I'm thinking about is trying to save this boot. I think that'd be real cool. So I'm gonna try and cut these off and see if we could save this boot and run our steering shaft through there. Be one less thing that we have to deal with. Okay, so I would say the hardest part of this whole journey has been like trying to figure out ways to get it to hold itself. That's probably been the hardest part about any of this fab work, honestly, is just doing it by myself. And it's been fun, but I got our angle iron. Let me grab a flashlight. Angle iron bolted up in here. Fits really tight on those bolts, which is nice. There's no slop. And now you guys can kind of see that's essentially how it's going to be. So I'm going to go grab like some kind of bungee cord or zip tie. Oh, actually, there's a hole right there. I'll zip tie it up. And then what we'll do is we'll take the TIG welder and just tack those tabs in. And the nice part is it almost sits flush on the tube, which is going to stop it from having a ton of flex, which is what we want. So far, so good. And just to be transparent, we are going to just cheat those and fill it in with weld. That is to allow that adjuster to move, like swing closer or further away to essentially adjust the height. I'm pretty sure a stock seat base that doesn't have rollers is very similar to a factory seat base that does have the motors. So I'm pretty confident in this. So we're going to go ahead and send it, but that'll give us just enough if we want to essentially bring the steering wheel down, we can. I don't foresee that being an issue, but we're going to do it anyway. Now we have our tacky tacks. Very tacked. I can cut the zip ties and then burn those in. I'm going to burn them in place. Actually, I don't have to. That whole piece will come out. So let me get this all pulled apart, and hopefully we don't break any of our tacks. I'll tell you one thing that this project has done between the roll cage, patching, the tabs, all this stuff that I've TIG welded, I've had to get really comfortable being uncomfortable. Hey, also guys, it has occurred to me on this project, I love inspiring other people to do this kind of stuff. Those are the kind of comments, messages that I love to read. Like, hey, like I'm gonna go work on mine. I just want to add a tiny bit of caution. When you start dealing with like steering, brakes, chassis stuff, cutting things, I urge you, if you don't know, ask, because you're starting to get to the point, like I was just thinking about this steering. I was like, man, you got to be pretty confident in welding to do this. So again, I'm not gatekeeping. I'm not that guy, but something to be considerate of is if you're not at that level of skill, it's okay to get help when you can. Like maybe you just want to build your own engine and drop it off or whatever. Like no matter what, at the end of the day, don't try to sacrifice just out of cost. You know, I certainly did not learn how to do this overnight, as most of you guys know. So just be careful when you guys start modifying these trucks, especially this kind of stuff. Essentially, we have gotten rid of all the factory steering now. and it's on me whether the truck goes left, right, or straight, as far as the steering wheel falling off, coming in my lap. So just, it's a sobering thing. As I was sitting there welding it, make sure you're confident in your ability. I'm not saying it has to be perfect. Make sure you're confident. The last thing I want to do is read about somebody that bought a Motion Raceworks in their 3rd gen and tried to do what I did, and they ended up hitting a wall. So again, I'm not better than anybody. There's way better fabricators than me. But if you are new, nervous, stuff like that, at least give it a practice run. But yeah, we're going to let that piece cool off. Once that piece is cooled off, I will then mark the tube. We're going to mark the tube for our 3/4 double D. And if you guys didn't know, I actually learned something the other day. I always just referred to this as double flat. Where is that piece? This. It's actually 3/4 double D, is what they call it. So I always called it 3/4 double flat because it had 2 flats. It's 3/4 double D. I appreciate the person that corrected me on that. Now I can speak correctly about it. Peep the sunburn on these arms from TIG welding. My Lord, I tell you what, we have been burning in here. And the 3/4 D is how we're going to get this shaft to this. Now this I did buy from Motion Raceworks. It is the most common add-on part to their kit. It is, I believe, 3/4 round to 3/4 double D. It's obviously a U-joint. Big thing with this is we want to make sure that we phase it correctly. Now, it's very hard to screw that up because this U-joint here is here, which means this U-joint needs to be like here. So they're in phase, right, in line. Well, with the 3/4 double D here, it's impossible to screw that up. So another nice benefit of this kit, using it the way we are, we're going to try and get this thing pretty close to factory, kind of tucked down out of the way. Should work out pretty good. We should be able to achieve that with our 2 U-joints. And worst comes to worst, the nice part about the Tim McCamus kit versus just absolutely burning into this tube is if we don't like it, we just throw this bracket away and we start over. Not the end of the world. You do burn their mounting tabs, but I'm sure if it's anything like anything else Tim McCamus sells for some money, you could probably get new ones. But let me get this piece into the light here. We did cheat it off to the side, and I know what everyone's going to ask, why. This seat is actually cheated in, and we did that because of, oh, wow, look at that. Oh, Jace was in here. Because of the cage. Just me being 6'2", cage being tight on the roof, we had to cheat the seat in a little bit. So that is why the steering wheel is cheated in a little bit. Now this part I'm sure is still hotter than Hades. But I'll tell you what, it's always a good sight when you see a lot of bluing in the material. It means we got good pen. And you can't really weld the inside because the inside is where that steering collar will lay. So I'm going to get this all in and then we'll kind of show you guys what it looks like mocked up. So I got our spot marked for length. And now we're going to come out here and you guys will see what we're left with on the steering shaft. You know, obviously we're a little long, but not terribly long. I'm almost curious what that would look like. I don't know what is going on out there with that cat, guys, but that is in fact a cat, not a child. So probably my cat, honestly. But our crankcase breather lines are doing us a solid by holding it, but I'm going to slip this U-joint. But it looks like it's a little too, kind of got to cheat it over a little bit like this. And I have our double D obviously cut. I'm going to need to cut a little bit more of it off. I left it purposely long so we can, or actually that kind of slid in. I'll have to kind of bump that back out. But steering shaft is in its final home. Overall, I'm happy with it. We have to drill this hole for the factory bolt. We will do that. We have to drill up here for a bolt as well. And then from there, that's about it. I left the tube purposely a little long. That slip collar will still fit in here. I did check that. So that is nice, essentially. Yeah, that's where we're at. So steering rack almost done. Again, we need this little bit of poke out here so that way we can grab the steering shaft again with that other bracket. So essentially right now it's only got one shear and we are going to double support it. Folks, steering wheel mounted in here, tube is secure, grommets back in, which fit perfectly around this Motion Raceworks thing. And we have our double D 3/4. I went ahead and cut a longer piece and beat it into about right here. A little bit of corrosion and stuff in there, but you took a hammer to it. Drilled this hole in place. 3/8 was the number, and sent that bolt home. This I pulled out. I dimpled it with a 1/4-inch bit and then sent the set screw home. Right now we just have a M6 bolt that is drilled for 1/4 inch. So we'll have to pick up a 1/4 inch piece of hardware, and we do have our Tim McCamus thing. So if you want to pull this apart to make it a 2-piece drive or steering shaft again, what you'll do, you'll pull this slip collar off, you'll pull this bolt out, pull the steering column out through the truck. Now is the last part in which we have to affix Tim McCamus bracket to truck. So I'm thinking 1 bar up from the frame, 1 bar here from the spring perch. Triangle's the world's strongest shape. Should be okay. So that's where we're at. Now, I don't think we're gonna get there tonight. It is pretty late, but hopefully this is kind of wrapping your brain around. This kit, honestly, has been awesome. So the Tim McCamus adjustable tabs you order separate. Then you have the Motion Raceworks steering column kit. Then you get this, I want to say it's 3/4 round to 3/4 double D. I got the 3/4 double D from a local shop here, but I've just bought 2 foot of it. Obviously I don't need it all. So I got Motion Raceworks for the U-joint, Motion Raceworks for the steering column, Tim McCamus for the adjustable brackets, and then I don't know, you can probably get it on Amazon these days for that. And we have some 1.25 by 1/8 inch angle iron up here, and then down there we'll use some chromoly tubing. But all in all, this has been pretty easy. We do have our steering back. Obviously it's flexing because it's only mounted in one spot currently, but it's in a good spot for me. I actually sat in a couple of my other trucks just to make sure that I liked it. And yeah, that's where she be. Not a lot of room to get you guys in there when you're cutting and grinding. The zip tie trick worked great to hold that, by the way, in case you are by yourself. And then we'll just take our 2 tabs here and we will mount that up. We did lose this part, and what's crazy is this part here is freaking heavy. Now, we did replace it with a lot, but that's 3 pounds. That was pretty much the triple D I put in, or the 3/4 double D I put in there. So we have a weight on the steering column, 6.25 pounds. So we net zeroed the steering wheel. However, we were able to subtract the quick release adapter, which is somewhere. The Motion Raceworks quick release, which is this part, is SFI rated, and it fit my NRG steering wheel. So all in all, pretty happy with it. We got to get some different hardware for this. This was just all I had to get it affixed, but I wanted to keep the steering wheel the same. I like this steering wheel. I'm used to this steering wheel. Our buttons are mounted, so now we'll be able to obviously Deutsch connect this, make it look a lot nicer. Quick release we got over here. And then I ended up picking up a Motion Raceworks hook. Originally I thought it was going to be for my helmet, but I actually kind of like it for our steering wheel because our Deutsch plugs will probably be right around this area. Plenty of cord to reach over there, and it gets it out of our way. And again, this is quite a bit of room to sneak your way through there. So all in all, big fan of this motion kit. Big thank you to old Whitley over at Fur Punk on recommending this kit. It fit great. Again, this is how I did it here. No secrets. It's fairly easy. The biggest thing is when you're welding these tabs, right? Like, just please do a good job. And then it fit through that grommet nice, which made it a lot easier. I can understand why some people would weld a bracket to that and bolt it through. However, I just don't think the factory Firewall is strong enough for me. So we're gonna do it a little different, and that's fine. We'll weld those tabs on tomorrow and finish this video out. But all in all, it's been fairly trouble-free on the steering. All right, guys, we are back, and I already finished the steering column. I totally forgot I had this video going, so I apologize, but I'll show you guys what it looks like now that it's done. This is it. So we basically pinched it. There is a support that goes down to the frame, and then there's another support that comes down right through here. I basically took some, I think this is 1/2" chromoly, and I TIG welded the tabs into it. I ovaled the tabs, cut them down, slipped them in, and welded it like that. I did paint the inside, and that's about it. Nice and sturdy. I did not put the bolt in, the shear bolt through there, so it's got a little slop, but that's literally, if you look, watch that bolt right here. Let me zoom in. You guys will see what I'm talking about. That bolt right there. So watch the bolt. See how the steering column's moving, but the U-joint's not? That bolt is M6 instead of 1/4-20, and it's not all the way through. It's only on one side. So that is causing all of the slop. And I mean, it's still double U-joint, so you're gonna have some slop, but this bolt right here is not it. It doesn't even go all the way through. So we'll have to pick up a bolt. We'll also have to pick up the bolts for the steering wheel. We need M5 bolts instead of M6, so we'll swap that over as well. But I wanted to get this done so we had a steering wheel, and we do now. So again, that is an NRG steering wheel that I originally got when I ran the factory steering column. I subtracted the intermediate shaft with the factory steering column. I added up all the Motion Raceworks stuff, even the mounting tabs. This steering column weighs 6.25 pounds minus 3.25 for the intermediate shaft that I didn't subtract for originally. And the factory steering column would have been 17.75 pounds. Now it's 6.25 pounds. So about 11 pounds of weight loss there. And again, that's reusing the steering wheel. So all in all, this Motion Raceworks kit was super easy to install. Big thank you to Whitley for putting me onto it. And again, I meant what I said. Make sure you're just confident. When you start changing stuff like that, just make sure you're confident in it. It's not hard, but like bad fab work or bad welding on a steering joint, no bueno. But we got a nice contour here. It kind of goes right where the factory one was. It's actually cheated over a little bit more than factory. If you can tell, I sprayed all this down. This should be the last thing I have to fab up here. I keep saying that, so I'm gonna paint it again, just in a couple of spots that we nicked with the grinder and whatnot. And that's about it. Now, full disclosure, you guys are gonna watch the Southwest Truck Fest video. Southwest Truck Fest, we started this before it, then we went to the event, and now I'm finishing this after the event. While we were at Southwest Truck Fest, I talked to Wagler. Block's done, shipped, so I'm hoping, you guys will probably see this video at the end of the week, I'm hoping the same week you guys are watching this, I get the block back and we can get started. We probably won't do a 4 or 3 part series on it, probably be pretty short, maybe 1 or 2 videos tops. and we'll get it back in the truck, get everything going. Haven't heard from Jarrett yet on our turbos, but I know they got them, or turbo, excuse me. But I know he's got it. They're looking over it, whatever. So we don't necessarily need the big turbo to fire it back up. We could do it with the small turbo and do the hot retorque and stuff, but it's looking pretty decent on time frame wise. So all in all, we should be back out here pretty soon. And then I have another really big surprise for you guys coming, but we'll save that for another video. So hopefully, again, you guys liked that dyno video. I know it was a little different. I tried to get a little bit more of everyone's trucks. And dude, L5P, I'm telling you guys, everyone thinks I hate 6.7 power strokes for no reason. They make no power. I hate to be that guy. They just make no power. And they're unreliable. But give this one a big thumbs up. Drop your comments down below. Subscribe if you're not already. And as always, I'll catch y'all on the next one.